right, we're bringing you back to another segment of No Brakes, brought to you by Essex Parts. We're here with Jeff Ritter, who's the guy at Essex who's answering the questions on the phone, on the forums. Jeff is really the braking expert. One of the things that you and I were talking about earlier today is when you go to purchase this big brake kit and you're looking at what you need, it's not just about the needs of today and right now that you have to keep in mind, but also as you evolve as a driver, as the car evolves, as you start to go, to different places, and you just get better and really more into the sport and track days and things like that. So give us an idea about it. It's not really just about the brake kit for today, but really for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When you're looking at a purchase of this magnitude, you really have to be thinking about how am I going to be using this car for the long haul. I'd say on average, most guys in this situation doing this sport are going to own their car 3 to 5 years. After 5 years, they may be looking at the next hot model that's coming out and they want to swap to something different, change of pace, that sort of thing. So it's not just about, okay, I want to get this brake kit on the car and solve my problem for today. So any change you're going to make to any of those things you mentioned is going to change the needs, their brake needs. So the car, starting with the car, most guys are going to add some horsepower to the car right off the top. That's almost a sure thing. Some guys, it might be an intake and exhaust. I add 20 horsepower. Other guys are going to say, hey, I'm going to supercharge the car and add 150 horsepower to it, which is dramatically changes that car's performance envelope. So it's really important that you're planning ahead and thinking about, am I satisfied with the car sort of the way it is? Or do I need to look forward to something else? Another one's suspension. If you make a suspension change, you're going to change the way that car enters the turn and how that weight transfers going into the turn. You're also going to change your alignment, how much tire contact you have with the road. All these things impact your brake requirements.
Yeah, and I think the biggest factor is, you think about that first time when you took car to the track and how you drove and how hard you were on the brakes compared to, 20 times later. Your driving style and your experience is going to completely change from day one to, the 20th time out on the track. And that's another thing you have to keep in mind is the usage from the driver.
Yeah, definitely. Some people think that because they're a beginner, they're going to be easier on the brakes, which isn't necessarily true. We see a lot of beginners. If you ever been instructing with someone, you're out on the track, a lot of times the beginners are actually harder on the brakes than an advanced driver. They're kind of stabbing wildly at the brakes, or they're standing on them for longer than they should be, and that sort of thing. So it's not necessarily a rookie's going to be easier on the brakes. They might actually be harder on the brakes. So over time, though, the car's going to be going faster. Other modifications like we talked about, if you get stickier tires, you're going to be you're going through the turn faster. At the end of the straight, you're hitting, let's say you're going 7 miles per hour faster at the end of the turn. Your skill's higher. That changes the demands on the brake system and what you need to address with the car. So driver and car are both, always evolving, always changing, and you have to think about that whenever you're making a purchase like this.
And I'm sure you've had guys call you and, they're not exactly sure how big they should go on the kit or exactly. And so sometimes a lot of them want to start off with the bare minimum, but it may save them a little money in the long run if they actually start with a more advanced kit.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to one other thing I was just thinking about was the usage environment, really the track itself. So, you might have a guy, in my case, I've moved to a few different areas of the country. I've driven over a dozen tracks around the country. Some of those tracks are really easy on brakes, right? So you're kind of thinking, all right, well, I'm going to drive Willow Springs, which is fairly easy. It's a long, flowing, fast track. If you think you might be driving Watkins Glen or Road America, that's a whole different ballgame. It's a lot of fast straights followed by heavy brake zones where you're standing on the brakes. So that's going to change things dramatically as well. So you just have to factor in all of these changing pieces of the puzzle.
So let's say, I've got my my car. I'm looking at a couple different tracks. I really want to get the big brake kit that's right for me. Is this when I kind of call you guys and give you an exact idea? Here's my car. Here's how long I've been driving. Here's where I plan to drive it, and then you help set me up with a kit?
Correct. So yes, we do have a range of options. I use the Corvette because we have a lot of different options for that particular platform, whether it's C5, C6, or C7. And if you think maybe right now our smallest, our 325 millimeter with a 4-piston is the right kit for me now, well, we're really going to ask you at this point, okay, well, what are your plans for the car? What are you going to do to it? What tracks are you running? Are you going to be running sticky tires? Are you going to add downforce to it? all these factors really play into the decision. So we would much prefer to see you get what you want and need the first time, you know,
Right.
so you're not coming back to us in 2 years from now and saying, hey, guess what, you know, I added sticky tires and a little bit of aero, and now, you know, the brakes are still okay, but I'm not getting quite the longevity out of the pads that I was hoping to get, that sort of thing. So we want you to get the right thing the first time. So usually what I tell people is really take a good look at what you think your needs are over the haul while you're owning the car, and that's going to lead you to a better decision the first time. And if you have to wait, you know, if you say, okay, well, I really don't want to spend that much right now, I'd say it's better to wait, you know, a couple months, save up a few more bucks, and then buy the kit that you really think is the proper fit for your needs. And that's the big thing. We just want to match needs with the proper equipment.
Right. And so if you're looking for a place to look around, EssexParts.com is the place to do it. Once you kind of think that you've landed on the big brake kit for you, then you just want to call one of the guys just like Jeff at Essex Parts. What's that number?
It's 704-824-6030. We're open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, and you're going to get a human on the phone, so give us a call anytime, and we'll try to steer you to the proper kit for your needs.
And that's going to wrap it for another session on No Brakes, brought to you by Essex Parts. And this one was the brake kit of today and tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.